are delighted to have Mary Woodiwiss join us this morning. Mary is the Projects and Grants Manager for the Greenwood County Community Foundation. She is also a founder and co-chair of Greenwood Women Care, a nonprofit group that's doing great things for our community. Welcome, Mary. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this, Bill, and to allow me to spend a little bit of time today with Greenwood County Democrats.
Hey, just to warm us up, can you start us off by giving us a quick summary of the path you took that landed you in Greenwood, South Carolina?
Sure. I am a North Carolina native and spent all my growing up years and my college years in North Carolina. I'm a proud graduate of the University of North Carolina, what people up there say is the real Carolina. I think you'll understand that. And my husband and I met during our senior year there and stayed around in Chapel Hill through his years of graduate work. We lived in another small town in North Carolina and then went to Illinois for 18 years for a teaching post that he had at Wheaton College, which is west of Chicago. Then we migrated back down south for a position here, a college position for my husband at Erskine College, and now he is at Lander. So we've lived in Greenwood. It'll be 14 years this summer. We've lived in Greenwood throughout our time in South Carolina, and we are glad to be back in this region of the country and much closer striking distance with family members and longtime friends from those years ago.
You and I are both part of the United Way Greenwood Counts Consortium, and we made it into the paper the other day.
Oh, I need to check that out.
Yeah, we had Marisol Losa, who's the president and CEO of the United Way of Greenwood and Abbeville counties. She spoke with us a couple of months back about Greenwood Counts. What drew you to that program, and what do you think we can get out of this program?
Well, what drew me, I was drawn to that program through United Way. I've just begun serving on the board for United Way. The Greenwood County Community Foundation used to be located in the same building, the United Center for Community Care, as United Way. And of course, I've just been aware of United Way for years. Marisol and I got to know each other a little bit as building mates. And I also know her through Greenwood Women Care, which we'll be talking about in a little bit. And so when there was an opening for board members, she and I had a conversation and I joined at that point.
Well, you mentioned the Greenwood County Community Foundation, and I guess that is your current employer, right? What is their purpose?
I guess I can talk about the foundation as having two basic aspects. And I'll just refer to it as GCCF for slight brevity. GCCF exists as a community funder, and they have that identity due to donor advised and other funds, either endowed or non-endowed, that are held by GCCF. So probably everyone who watches this will be familiar with family foundations, including the Self Family Foundation right here in Greenwood, which has been a tremendous resource for this community. The family foundations are generally known as private foundations, in which the funds come from one or more specific donors, and those specific family donors retain oversight and control of the philanthropic activities of the foundation. Community foundations have a different designation as public foundations, and they're established through the creation of an array of funds set up by numerous donors. So I'll go a little further and say, when donors create a fund, they receive the full tax benefit of their contribution when that fund is created or when it's added to by other contributions that they make. But they legally retain the right to make advisements from their funds within certain legal parameters. That advisement privilege can even be handed down to their children or to other designees. So nonprofit organizations and civic clubs and other groups can also create an endowed or non-endowed fund for their own long-term stability and for special purposes such as scholarship funds. So I like to use this illustration. If your name is Warren Buffett or Mackenzie Scott or Bill or Melinda Gates or James Self, you might set up your own foundation. You would have the wealth to create your own foundation. But within a community foundation, you might choose to set up your own smaller fund and pool your investment with those of others to meet your philanthropic goals while helping to build a community resource for funding. So that's kind of the main idea on the funding side.
Now, is this something that every county in South Carolina has, or is Greenwood kind of an outlier?
I wouldn't say Greenwood is an outlier. I wish I could tell you exactly how many community foundations exist in South Carolina, and I don't want to hazard a guess and get it wrong, even though I'm in networks where we meet together. But there are well-established community foundations nearby in Spartanburg and Greenville, also in Columbia and in the Low Country. So it's not unique to Greenwood, but it's not exactly common for a community of this size to have a community foundation that's active in its midst.
Now, I understand the GCCF is entering into its 10th year of operations.
Yes, that's correct.
Do you have any insight on how it was founded? I mean, how does something like this even get off the ground?
A group of interested citizens met, and there was an anonymous funder that gave a substantial amount of money to the foundation as a startup fund. And I think it was forward-looking, community-minded people who thought, we've enjoyed the benefits of self-family foundation funding for years, and certainly will for years to come, but having another source of funding for nonprofit work in the community would be an excellent idea. So how those individuals came in touch with a community foundation model is not something I'm privy to, but I would say they were both forward-looking and dedicated to get this established.
Can you give us an inside scoop here, an exclusive? Can you reveal the name of that anonymous donor who started things off?
It was not an individual, but I think I probably should not say more because I think it's sort of a not so well kept secret, but also not mentioned publicly. Right. We talked a little bit about the fund creation side. I'd love to talk with you about the grant making side as well. Okay, so the other main aspect of GCCF is local grant making. The Community Foundation conducts 3 regular annual granting cycles specifically to support nonprofit work in Greenwood County. And our grants are open to any organization with 501c3 or comparable tax-exempt status. And in those 3 regular granting cycles, an organization can seek a grant award of up to $5,000. However, biennially, in odd-numbered years, or another way to put that is non-election years, we also offer our Innovation Grant Cycle. And that Innovation Grant Cycle has special requirements for applying, and requests for funding may be made for up to $50,000. This April, we'll be making granting determinations for the applications we already have in hand for our Youth and Education Cycle. And so we have 3 more in 2021, and that's the Innovation Cycle that I've mentioned, Community Enhancement, and Open Granting. And if anyone watching wants to know more about the timeline or guidelines or grant application forms, those are available on the website, which is greenwoodcf.org. Finally, as Director of Grants and Projects, I'm available at any time by email or phone or in-person meetings to answer questions anyone may have about our granting process or to discuss any specifics about their proposed project or program. Those conversations are very gratifying to me and really help me to know more about the good work in the community as well.
Well, thank you.
Sure.
I would like to explore another endeavor that you're deeply involved in, and that's the Greenwood Women Care group. It's an endeavor you're extremely passionate about. Let's first watch this short video that gives us a sense of what the GWC is all about.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
So my first question from that is, where did the idea for Greenwood Women Care come from, and how is it different than the Greenwood County Community Foundation we were just talking about earlier?
Okay, well, those are really great questions. Soon after I came into my position, I mentioned I was hired by the former executive director, Mark Casper, and Mark talked to me a little bit about some initial conversations that had begun to take place in Greenwood about the possibility of a women's giving collective. And that was a new idea to me. And so I began searching through our files to see what I might find about a women's giving collective, and I found empty files. So I began to, because it hadn't really gotten started yet, but I began to do some research. I like to say, what I don't know, Ms. Google does know. She knows a lot. And so what I found out in a quick initial search is that there were viable, even vital, vibrant women's giving collectives located nearby in North Carolina, in South Carolina, as close as Greenville and Spartanburg. And those groups began to share information very generously with me about how they got their women's giving collective off the ground. GCCF is concerned with philanthropy in the community. And by looking at supporting the development of a women's giving collective, that allowed GCCF to help create another granting opportunity for Greenwood area nonprofits, as well as a means of bringing community-minded women together to learn about their community and to contribute collectively toward the well-being of their community. So it seemed like a really wonderful opportunity to build grassroots philanthropy. Whether some of our members also hold funds at the Community Foundation. For many of us, that would be beyond our means to establish our own family fund, but it still is a participatory way of doing philanthropy in the community in a way that can possibly lead to real impact.
Now, as anyone who launches or helps manage a volunteer organization knows, it's tough to get people's attention and keep the enthusiasm level up and actually be a productive group. How has the GWC been able to be so successful in such a short time period?
I am not sure I can give a clear answer to that. I will say that after that initial fact finding, there were a number of smaller conversations with women in the community that we thought might be interested in something like this. Many of them were from nonprofit sector, but it still took some time to find women who were really willing and able to give the time to developing a strong, sound framework. So our first steering committee of 5 women that quickly became 6 began meeting in the summer of 2017. We met, I think at that point we were meeting every 2 or 3 weeks. We developed the name Greenwood Women Care. We developed the logo, which I think goes out very nicely in public with the GCCF logo. We developed the giving, the contribution level for membership, and we just began to spread the word through some informal home gatherings that several of us hosted, as well as press releases and items on the webpage, the GCCF webpage. We set what we thought was a bit of an ambitious goal to have a certain number as charter members in 2018. And as we began to spread that word informally, women were persuaded to make a membership contribution in 2018, knowing that we would not grant out funds until 2019. So they're known as our charter members, and to our great delight, again, we began meeting in July of 2016 as a formal steering committee. And by April of 2018, we had 104 charter members. So
I saw in that video quite a few familiar faces, which is delightful to see. You've got some good people in that group.
Yeah, we do. So our first formal meeting with the community was in February of 2018. By that time, we had about 50 members and about 40 guests. That was held at the museum, which graciously opened their doors for us to meet there. And I guess I would say, Bill, it's been through many hours of determined time and care and attention, but really just trying to spread the word far and wide. It is, I will say this more than once in this conversation, it is an open membership organization. And so we are very interested in spreading the word and letting every woman know that she is already invited to participate. There's not an invitation that must be issued, or you don't have to know somebody or have to be somebody's youngin' or somebody's friend to be let in. It's an open membership organization. Almost all the funding for GWC comes directly from membership contributions, and there is a standard annual membership contribution that each member commits to. So that's how we've created a granting pool, and that's how we've created an endowed fund. And a very, very small portion, only $50 a year per member, goes toward covering all our admin costs of printing and refreshments for meetings and so on. So that membership contribution is the mainstay of our ability to grant out and to create an endowed fund. So we don't hold fundraising events. We invite our members or others to make additional contributions at any time. So sometimes a woman will send in her application and she may send an extra $15 or $50 to the granting fund, or an extra $200 or $300 to the granting fund. But we don't do additional fundraisers. So, you know, I look at all that Greenwood County Democrats have in place, and I think the kind of mobilization and community service and communications and the material that you're getting out, you know, the information you're getting out to the community is really so impressive. And I think it will just, that will in itself will continue to help this organization grow.
I know.
I think you're finding that well-formed mission and message at this point.
I know you have also been forced to take things in a more virtual fashion in the past year.
Absolutely.
Are you guys starting to talk about lifting the veil of virtual and starting to do things more in the real world?
Yeah, that's a good question. We have met virtually since February of last year. And, you know, some people are very comfortable with Zoom format. Some it just doesn't appeal to them at all, or they're confused by it. We just took a survey of our members on Monday. That the survey is still open, so we're still getting answers, but we asked them about their comfort about meeting in person with certain precautions in place. We didn't see our way to do that for our February quarterly meeting. Perhaps we will by May, depending on the venue. Most likely, our first in-person event will be a socially distanced social. I would say a socially distanced masked social. And we'll just have to, you know, go carefully. We very much not wanted to be that organization that became the super spreader event in Greenwood. Out of responsibility to all our members. We have members ranging from their 30s to at least one member in her 90s. So we're trying to take care of everybody. But yeah, I think all of us are feeling like we're chomping at the bit a little bit to be together.
You've been a wealth of information. I can't thank you enough for taking some time out with us this morning. Any last words you would like to leave our members with?
Well, I think you saw some of our highlights in the video, but I think I would just like to say that for any of you associated with nonprofit efforts, I would love to hear from you on the GCCF granting side. If I can be of any assistance in helping you with a granting process or giving you any feedback on that. And on the GWC side, just again to reiterate that all of our meetings are open, guests are welcome. There's no expiration date on guests. Guests can come multiple times as guests. We love to have guests in the room, and it helps us fulfill our mission of helping women learn about the community. There's plenty of information on the website that you're going to share, but I would love to answer questions from anyone. And also, we have a blind CC'd guest email list for Greenwood Women Care. If someone wants to be in touch through that webpage or through the email on that webpage, they can be added to that and be kept informed about all of our upcoming meetings. And we have web posts about everything too. So hopefully you can use that webpage or emails to get further information at any point.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Mary. Have a great weekend.
I want to thank you so much. You too.
Bye.
Bye.